Okay, this video we will be continuing on the beginner's guide to Love2D and Lua. If you are just starting out, you will need to clone the Git repository at GitHub, Programming Rainbow, Beginner's Guide to Love2D. You'll need to clone that repository. And we are working with the code. This is the third video. So we are working with the code that we left off in the second video. So if you're just starting with this video, you can delete these two files that we're working with, the config Lua and the main Lua, and copy them. Those two files are inside the video 2 folder, and just copy them to the top level. And that'll be right where we left off with the second video. So I'll show the code real quick, or the project that we're working on so far. So far we have the text moving around the screen. When we press the spacebar, we get a random color set as our render color that's behind the background image being drawn, and love is moving around the screen. We still are using we didn't change the title from the last one, so we can do that on this one. We forgot, but it's not a major deal. So we can go into the conf, and this one is going to be called Player Sprite, so we can just change that right now to Player Sprite. So if we run it now and we look at what's the title, it says Player Sprite up there. Okay. So I'm going to close this now because that's all we needed to change. So this video, we're going to be loading an image, and we've already done this before, so I'm not going to cover how to load an image because it was right here. And I'm just going to do this exact same thing right here. So I'm just going to copy this file, or this line of text, and I'm going to put it down below what we have already been working on. And we'll call this one Sprite. Okay, but we don't want to load the same image that we loaded before, the background one. So let's look at what other image we have over here. In the images folder, we have a Lua minus logo, or tac, or however you want to say it. That's the same image that we loaded for the window icon. We're going to be using that as our sprite that we move around. So Lua, and it's not an underscore, it's a minus sign or a tac logo. Okay, so that should load our Lua logo. So let's draw it real quick. I'm just going to take the code right here that we used to display the last image, and I'm going to put it down below. Remember, it draws from back to front. So whatever's on the top is in the back, and whatever's on the bottom is in the very front. And we'll change it to Sprite. And we should, in the top left-hand corner, have the Lua logo as our sprite loaded now. So we'll try that real quick. And there it is right there. It says Lua. That's the official Lua logo. And now we want it to move around the screen. Now we've already got, well, we do need a width and a height for this image too. So let's do that first. So in Love, back in graphics where we've been many times before, there is a method called getDimensions. We could get the width, we could get the height, or we could just get dimensions, which is width and height. Right here. Love graphics get dimensions, gets the width and the height of the window. I believe we can use this. Sorry, I know we can use this. I'm just thinking if it's written the same way. So the Love graphics one is it, but we could use this as an actual, I don't know if there's a different page that is for a specific image. Here. Yeah. I don't know if there's I'm not sure if there's specific documentation for image. Let's try that image. We should have a get dimension. Here it is. So it's the exact same. It has the same name, but basically the name of our texture, which for us is self.sprite or self.background, but we're not using the background one for this. It's the same thing, and it gets the dimensions, and it returns the width and the height. And it's going to return both values. So what we're going to do is we're going to populate both values at the same time. And we're not using the texture is just like saying the texture you have, the image you have. For us, the image is called self love.sprite. So this getDimensions, and we want to have our sprite width and our sprite height. Okay, and since this returns two values, the first one is the width and the second one is the height. So self.sprite, and I'm going to call it width like that, and then I'm going to put a comma and self.sprite underscore h. So we have these two, and what we need to do is we need to run the method that's on our actual, so this sprite is an object, and it already has a method on there for us called getDimensions. So equals self.sprite, and this is a method on sprite, so we need to use the colon because it needs to know the name of itself. I'm sure I spelled this right, wrong, maybe? Totally wrong. GetDimensions, yeah, hopefully that's a real word. So this is going to return two values that are going to be populated in our width and our height. And then we can do a similar thing to this, but we actually don't need these. I hadn't thought of it before, but we actually do not need these, but now you know how to get them. So if you needed the width and the height of this, of any image that you've loaded in, that's how you do it. Although we are not, I don't believe we're actually going to use these in this code at all. But you could use these if you were doing bounds checking, stuff like that. But for the player sprite, I'm not going to use bound checking. But we want this sprite to move with keys that we press, but we don't want it to happen the same way that these are being checked. So these keys pressed, this is kind of like an event, like a key went from an up to a down state, like I pressed a key. So if I press, if I say press an M key, I get an M. But if I press it and hold it down, it's going to give me one M. There's going to be a delay, and then it's going to start repeating, because that's either a keyboard or a system-wide way to say, hey, I think you wanted a repeated thing. So I'm gonna hold M down now, and you're going to see one M and then repeat. And we don't want our player to move like that. We want it to just move when we want it to move. So we don't want an event where a key has been pressed. What we want is, we want to just know, is the key in the down state. So for that, we're going to go back into, this is going to be under the keyboard. So love.keyboard, right here, which is over here. I already have it open. And there's this love keyboard is down. Okay, and that I have that opened up here. And this is saying, it's just checking, it's not going up to down. It's not an event that happened. It's just saying, is this key down? If it's down, I just want to do the thing. I don't want to know, have you been pressing it repeatedly, or is it in a repeated loop? I just want to know, is the state down? So I can get smooth movement out of it without that kind of pausing and then repeating. So this is just returning a Boolean. This down is just I believe just a Boolean that's returning. It's just like true or false. So I can check a specific key, and it should just tell me true or false if it's down or not. Yeah, so we're just going to put this in an if statement, and just like the other one, and we can write left for the left key, right for the right key, down. I don't know if there's more examples down here. Yeah, there's an up right there. That would be the up arrow key, and there's the SAWD. Okay. So the way we're going to use this is we're going to make another update, just like this game text update, but we're going to make it games update sprite. Okay, so we have this game update sprite, and what we want to do is we want to check left, right, up, down. So if, and it's love.keyboard is pressed, I think. Hold on, let me just check. Is down, sorry, is down. And here we can just put in left. That's for the left arrow key. We can say then, and I'm just going to move it left. Now, I need that X position and Y position, and I need a velocity. So let's make that real quick. Let's just put the end in here, and we'll make that. So what I need is a sprite X, a sprite Y, and a sprite velocity. I don't need an X velocity this time and a Y velocity because we're not going to be changing the X velocity and the Y velocity. We just want a velocity. So this one is going to be sprite X. We could just say it's 0 for right now. Sprite Y. Don't forget the commas at the end. And then a sprite velocity. I'll just call it vel. And this one, I want it to be faster than the text, so I'm going to put it at 5. That means 60 times a second. This is moving 300 pixels per second. So we have a sprite X, a sprite Y, and a sprite velocity. Okay? So back down here. If this is down for this frame that just happened, because this is going to be called 60 times a second, this update right here. So in this update, during this frame of the game, if the left key is in the down position, then we want to move negative velocity. We want X to move in a negative direction because we want it to move to the left. So we're going to say self.sprite X equals self.sprite X minus self.sprite vel. Okay? So basically, if the left key is pressed, we want the X to be decremented by velocity. So we want X, we're going to subtract sprite velocity from it. And if we want it right, I'm just going to copy this code. We can just change this left to right. And then we can just change this to a plus sign. Okay, let's try that. Sorry, it's not going to work because I didn't hook the update sprite. We need to add this right here so it actually gets called. So it's going to be game update sprite, and don't forget the parentheses there, because it is a function or method or however you want to say it. So now it should move, but it's not moving. So I've made a mistake. Oh, I know what's going on. I forgot one other thing. So right now we're just drawing the sprite. Where is it? In the draw section. We're drawing the sprite, but we haven't added the optional X and Y's to them. So we need to add those, since we're already mutating X and Y, but we're not actually drawing it with that information. So we need self.sprite X, and then we need self.sprite Y. So self.sprite X, self.sprite Y. Now we should be actually being able to update our movement. There we go, to the right and to the left. Oh, we don't have up and down yet, just left and right. But I want to try something I actually haven't tried before. See, normally I would, I could put a if this keyboard, if left is down, right? And then I could say or if A is down. But I believe what you can do is just add A in, because you can add more than one, right? So that's what I'm going to do here. And it is a, not a string, it is a character. It's been a while since I worked with Lua. I'm not sure. I mean, it does look like strings are double quotations and characters are single. I'm not sure if that's a hard and fast rule for Lua. Lua is kind of a thing. It's so simple, I don't really think about it, so I would just test it. But let's try that. Let's do the A in the single quotation, and the right would be a D. And I should put a comma there as well. I didn't. In the single quotation, D, and oh, there's a comma up there. Okay, so let's try both of those. So I'm pressing D. Now I'm pressing A. Okay, D, A. Okay, I was just seeing if I press both buttons, does it go twice as fast? And it doesn't. Now, I kind of want to see if I can use double quotations here. It's been a while for me and Lua. It's so simple you don't really need to think too much about it. Yeah, both ways work. So it doesn't look like it cares whether it's single or double quotation, but generally in languages people use single quotations for single characters and double quotations for strings. And it may still be doing that, but it just accepts both a string and a character. But anyway, we have left and right. And up and down is going to be very similar. So I'm just going to yank those two. And we'll say up and W. W. And this will be decrementing the Y. And this one will be down and S. If you don't know what these characters are, this is the kind of like the arrow keys for computer games. Many people in many games use the A, S, D, and W keys, similar to the way you use arrow keys. So I'm given the option of using either one. So we have the down and the S, and this one is for the Y. Okay, so we're increasing with the Y and we're decrementing with the Y. Okay, so this should give us all the directions. I'm just going to save this and try it again. So right, left, down, up. Now I'm trying D, A, S, W. Okay, and you can use them in combinations and stuff too. Now it does go faster diagonally than it does like this, because I'm not normalizing the direction. So if I move right by 1 each time and I move down by 1 each time, the diagonal of that is not 1. It's more than 1, you know. But this is just a simple thing, so we're not normalizing directions and any of that stuff. So that is the player sprite. So let's just go through it, step through it real quick. So we're just adding some the X and the Y starting positions and just making them exist, setting them to 0, but they exist as members of the game table, and a velocity. Then we're loading our image the way that we loaded the background image, the exact same way. We're just calling it sprite this time. We are getting the dimensions, even though, again, we're not using the dimensions, but now you know how to get the dimensions if you want. But we're not actually checking the bounds because I'm letting the player move off the side of the screen. I'm not bounds checking it. That's not what I intended to do in this video. So that is kind of interesting, but we're not using it. And now we know that we can add X and Y. If we're just drawing a background, we don't need that. But if for our sprite, we can add an X and Y coordinate. And we've created a new update method where we're just checking is a key down. So this is the way that you always want to move characters like this. If you're opening something or closing something or making an action happen one time, you might check a key press event. But this one, you're not checking event, you're just checking the state of the key. Is the key in the down position? And it's just a Boolean, so you can wrap it in an if statement like this, and you just update your X or your Y by your velocity. And the update needs to be down here, love.update, so it gets called. Again, we could have put a game update here and took both of these and put them inside the game update, but it's a little bit unnecessary here. We could just call them directly. So that, and we did change the title. So that's going to be the end of this one. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks. Bye.